Greetings, friends! Welcome once again to this edition of Art and Coffee, the video series dedicated to helping you find and forge your own unique voice in the realms of art and visual storytelling. As per usual, this is yours truly, Gabe Dunston. Thank you for joining me and thank you for your patience. Today's coffee is the Counterculture hologram because it's my favorite, and I really didn't feel like branching out. The last time I was at the grocery store, I was like, this is fine. So yeah, hologram from Counterculture. I recommend it. Order some online if you're not in the area. So let's go ahead and move on to the meat of today. Number 1, when is art school a good idea? And number 2, all the things that you could do for your art education that are not art school. So, starting at the beginning, it's a good idea to go to art school when you find a good art school. What makes a good art school? I'm glad you asked. What makes a good art school is it's a school that teaches the art, your discipline, as though it were a trade. Which a lot of artsy kids and lots of artsy folk find very distasteful, but listen to me very carefully. That's exactly what's happening. Art is a trade. You have specialized tools and you build specialized skills to accomplish a very specific job. And that job is to convey very detailed, large amounts of information, emotional and intellectual information, and to package them in a way that is very easily consumed and consumed very compellingly. Sometimes it's sharing stories, sometimes it's sharing ideas, sometimes it's sharing ideas through stories, and not all of your tools, not all the tools in your box are physical, and in fact, most of your tools aren't. If you'll put your eye on the screen, this is paper and a pen. That's all that's happening here. I'm doing a lot of stuff with paper and a pen, and then later I add markers. Ooh, fancy. But the tools that I'm using are also intellectual tools like shape, line, form, rhythm, balance, tension, all that stuff. The ethereal, ephemeral stuff that you build in both your eyes and your mind's eye. And a good school teaches you to use those things as tools, the way plumbers would use a wrench or a heat gun for PVC pipe. It sounds strange, but it is analogous. Those two things are similar. Art is a trade, music is a trade, and you've got very specific things that you need to learn in your trade. Like specifically what your trade is, how to convey this information, how to use your tools, and what tools to use. So a good school teaches you those things and has very specific goals for its graduates. That one is huge. For most art schools or art departments in larger universities, the goals are very not specific. The goal is the degree, and then that's it. You're here to learn printmaking. Oh, look, you learned printmaking. Here's your printmaking piece of paper. Good luck. That's not good. That puts a lot more onus on the student, and the student, usually by their very nature, hasn't spent a whole lot of time in the world and doesn't exactly know what the world is looking for at that moment. So a piece of paper about printmaking, not necessarily helpful. However, a piece of paper that says you would do very well in a print shop because you have these specific skills, that's a little bit better because that is specific. For art school, specific skills that will lead to jobs are things like graphic design, motion graphics, or any of the animation disciplines. And I'm talking character animation. If you're interested in like animation for, cartoons for TV or animated movies, character animation. That's what that discipline is called. And there are schools, places like Cal Arts, that will teach those things as trades. However, they're crazy expensive. Oh my word. But yeah, Cal Arts is like, you want to learn character design, here you go. You want to learn storyboarding, here you go. And they're training you for jobs in the animation business. Or at least that's what it looks like on the outside. Full disclosure, I've never gone, never toured their school, never even been to the West Coast. I mean, maybe someday, but that is what it is. So that's item number 1. Art school is a good idea when you find a good school or a good art department, and those places are good because they teach specific, actionable skills that you can take with you immediately after graduation, so that you can go from school to professional or near professional job, like something entry level that pays a living wage. Not entry level period, entry level that pays, not that pays period, entry level that pays a living wage. all of those things at once. When first I entered school, a 4-year degree was your ticket to a white-collar job that did all of those things. And the crash of 2007 and 2008 happened just before I graduated, so overnight that changed, and it hasn't gone back. That time is just gone, and it's gone forever. The 4-year degree in anything does not get you all of those things. So when you're going into a school, you have to go in with the plan to achieve all of those things upon your graduation in 4 years. Super duper aim for those 4 years. Don't do your absolute utmost to not make it 4.5, 5, 6, 8. I knew a guy who was in for 9 years. Don't do it, because the student loan debt mounts exponentially. Don't let that happen to you. And more universities, particularly the private for-profit universities, which a lot of art schools fall in that category, they do their utmost to keep you around, because so long as you're there, you're paying their tuition. So you gotta aim for those 4 years. That needs to be a conscious thing that you are working towards as hard as you can. And depending on your school, there may be roadblocks, like intentional roadblocks, to keep you there for longer. Don't get blocked. 4 years and out. Do your best. Lastly, art school is a good idea when someone else is footing your bills. Look, it is what it is. This stuff is crazy expensive. If you can get out of art school with only 10 years of debt, that's cool. 10 years is an acceptable amount. More than 10 years, 20 years or more, no, unacceptable. Do your utmost to accrue only 10 years of debt. How do you calculate how much debt you'll be in? Well, you've got to look at a lot of student loans. You've got to read the contracts. You've got to do the math yourself. You've got to get your hands on somebody who's willing to tell you how much your given field pays in a year. For entry level, sit down and do the math, figure out the percentages, and you've got to figure it all out on your own, because they don't teach it in any school that I'm aware of. You just have to do the reading and figure out what your 10 years is, and good luck. I didn't do it, and honestly, I couldn't do it right now. I don't have the skills. It's probably an aspect of myself that I should shore up. Other than 10 years worth of debt, which again, for just a little clarifier, my debt is 40 grand. I don't know when I'm going to pay it off. A friend of mine's debt is 75 grand. He will pay it off when he is 65. So, there you go. That's just for a reference. There are art schools that I looked up whose 1 year is 50 grand. 1 year is more than the sum total of what I owe. So that gives you kind of a ballpark. The other trick is getting scholarships. Now, scholarships, plural. You need a plethora of them. The time where a scholarship gave you a full free ride to school is gone. It's gone and it's never coming back. You need as many as you can get. If you can get enough to bring your debt down to 10 years or enough to just pay for school, good for you, high five. That's the way to do it. But if you don't do it or you can't do it, don't worry. That is extremely difficult. It's struck by lightning twice. I am hot stuff on a sandwich. That's how you get that kind of scholarship money. And last but not least, are your parents willing to foot the bill? Do you have a wealthy aunt or uncle? Or your grandparents? Don't fleece anybody. Don't cheat anybody. Be like, hey, I'm interested in this thing, whichever art it is, and I would like to pursue an education at this place, and it costs this much. And I plan to do this after graduation. Be real, be straight up, and be like, it's super expensive, but I'd really appreciate your help. And there you go. Lots of people do it. And you know what else? I'm going to throw this out there. You don't know who's willing to help you unless you ask. So just ask. Screw up the courage that you need and just ask. The worst that you could get is a no. And it's, when it comes to something as important as your education and your future, it's worth asking. It's worth the no. It's worth embarrassing yourself a little. Be nice, be polite, be gracious. If the answer is no, say I understand. If the answer is yes, say thank you. And that's that. So good luck. Now let's move on to the other meat of this conversation, which is what to do for an art education that does not include art school. What are things that you could do yourself on your own that cost either nothing or as close to nothing as possible. So here we go. Item number 1, very, very important. Decide what kind of artist you want to be. Not what kind of artist you want to be eventually, but what kind of artist you want to be right now. What is the art or art form you're most interested right here, right now, at this exact second? Low stress, don't worry about it. You can change your mind later. Just worry about the here and now, because you need to start, and the time to start is now. So what kind of art are you interested in right now? What kind of artist do you want to be right now? Make that decision, because once you make that decision, you're armed and you're ready to go. Because the best way for some people to learn how to make art is to just decide that they want to do it and then just start doing it. You learn by doing, especially in art. With every skill, you learn by doing. But art and music, that's huge. There's nothing to do but just sit down and do it. So for some of you listening, let this be your call to action. Right here, right now. What kind of art do you want to do? What kind of artist do you want to be? What kind of art do you want to make? Once you've got that in your head, stop this, pause, put on some music, grab a sheet of paper, grab your pencil, start making it right now. You'll learn as you go. And if you decide that you don't actually like that art, that's fine. You can change your mind later. So many visual art skills transfer from one to the other. So if you do change your mind in the future, you're not wasting your time by trying an art now. Definitely not. You're learning something. You're learning your skill. You're learning yourself. You're learning a discipline that will help you later, because almost any training in almost any visual art will transfer to other visual arts. So if you're inspired, if you know what you want to do, and you know more or less how you want to do it, not how you're supposed to, but how you want to, then do it now. Pause this, put on some music, make it happen. The best and most powerful art form is the one that speaks to you. One of the best ways to learn how to create art in that form is by creating it, and the best time is right now. So make it happen. Alright, now if you're still here, you probably need more information. Maybe you're not feeling so inspired as to just stop everything, drop everything, and make it happen now, and that's fine. Don't worry about it. The rest, we've still got some time to go, so the rest of this episode is for you. What if you want to take classes? What if you want to learn specifics? Here's what to do. Number 1, armed with the knowledge of what art you want to learn, you can now approach different classes and approach different artists who share your discipline or your sensibilities, or the sensibilities that you're looking to grow and expand. So with that knowledge, the very first thing you can do, the most immediate thing you can do, is take some art classes. Because while art school is not necessarily a good idea, art classes are almost always a good idea. And you can start taking those classes in no time flat. The first place you're going to look for classes is right in your backyard, right in your local community. Here in the United States, almost every city, almost every town has some kind of community center or a public library or a community center, say, attached to a park. And these places usually offer some kind of art classes, some kind of evening classes taught by local artists. Some are professional artists, some are working artists, some are amateurs, some are people who are retired but have been doing art on the side their whole lives, and they've got a lot of love to give and a lot of knowledge to share. And these classes are really great. They're a perfect place to start. It gets you out of the house, it gets you meeting other aspirants in your community, people who are interested or at least vaguely interested in art right in your own backyard. The classes are usually cheap. It's in the neighborhood of like $10 to $20 per class, and it's usually 6 classes once a week. So there you go. Not that expensive. You meet new people, you try new things. And if you're listening to this and you're a little bit older, like it's once you're an adult, once you're out of school, it's harder to meet new people and make new friends. And this is, just as an aside, this is a great way to do it. A great way to make friends, because humans, we're most likely friends not with the people that we share the most in common with, but the people that we do things with. So a great way to meet new people and make friends is to go to one of these art things, take some art classes, really apply yourself, and look around for the other people in the room who are also applying themselves. And there you go. You got some new friends that can really help you. Now, this comes with a little bit of a warning. If what you're interested in, if you're like me, you're interested in illustration, comics, animation, draftsmanship, there's not a whole lot of classes out there There's plenty of drawing classes, plenty of painting and sculpture and ceramics and so on. In short, it's a lot of stuff that has a fine arts bent to it, which is not nothing, but it's not specifically the discipline that you're after. Draftsmanship, things like character design, storytelling, and whatnot, those are separate skills. They transfer. You will learn a lot of things. There is storytelling in painting and fine arts and whatnot. It's just, it's similar but not the same. Depending on where you live, you may have a guy like me who does this sort of stuff and decided to start teaching some classes for the kids and adults who want to learn illustration and comic making. So there might be some great drawing classes for you, but on the whole, it's fine arts classes. And you know what, that I highly recommend it. It's a great way to expand your horizons. If you're really good with a pencil but you never paint, great, take a painting class, because it's cheap and it's low stakes, low stress. You're not getting graded, and the teacher is not judging you. You're there to learn, you're there to have a good time. And the teachers, they're there to have a good time too. Something that I've noticed is at these community art centers, those teachers are laid back. So if that's the environment you want to be in, this is great. If they teach a caricature class, take it, because that's really good for helping you observe people, build your people drawing skills, build your observation skills, build your character design skills. That's definitely a good one. Something that almost every community center has is some kind of figure drawing. Figure drawing is huge. Figure drawing is good for everyone, the cartoonist and the fine artist alike. If you have a chance to learn some figure drawing, do it. Do it, do it, do it. If you can, take the time and have a figure drawing session every month or every week, do it. It's like going to the gym. It'll make you so strong, and it'll really build a lot of mental chops that help every artist of every stripe. If you're in a bigger city, or perhaps a particularly artsy city, in addition to community centers, you have art centers. They're usually attached to galleries and whatnot. The classes there are usually slightly more expensive, but also more elaborate, where you can use bigger, more expensive materials, and they're also more specialized. You're more likely to find your cartooning and illustration classes there. You're also more likely to find your figure drawing classes there with dedicated models and whatnot. Highly recommend. Highly, highly recommend. Once you've exhausted your local community, welcome to the wonderful wide world of the internet. The internet is chock full of online classes and other resources, and if you'll allow me, I'll be your guide and tell you about the best ones that I know of. Now, these are the best ones that I know of here and now in 2019. But like everything else on the internet, this is always in flux. There's going to be new online courses every year, so keep your eyes open, keep your ears to the ground. So here we go. Let's start off. The first place that I want to talk about is svslearn.com. SVSlearn, it stands for Society of Visual Storytelling. This is a great subscriber class series put together by Will Terrell, who's mainly a children's book illustrator, and Jake Parker, who is a children's book illustrator, graphic novel maker. He also worked at Blue Sky Entertainment, the animation wing of Blue Sky, for a good long while. And these guys put together a series of instructional videos that are made for the kind of art that I'm interested in. Illustration, comics, that sort of thing. And they've got tons and tons of classes about specifically illustration and specifically all of the unique disciplines. For one of the cool things about this is that they've got it set up in different levels, different tiers for where you are as an artist, and also specific classes for maybe specific side skills or assistant skills that you need to shore up. So for level 1, it's how to draw all the things, drawing fundamentals, creative composition or composition fundamentals, working on light and shadow. In their level 2, it's visualizing, drawing in perspective, gets you beginner classes on how to paint in Photoshop, or 10-step digital painting, or creating custom brushes. And in level 3, there you work on perspective, on your color theory, on your poses, that sort of thing. Level 4, you start working on painting and texture, stylizing characters, the storytelling techniques where they take you the top to bottom on how to illustrate a kid's book using, for instance, Red Riding Hood as an example. Environment design, all that stuff. And what's cool about this is it's pretty cheap. It's a subscription where you can subscribe and unlock these videos, and you can pay by the year or you can pay by the month. It's $25 a month or $200 for a year, which brings it down to like $16, $50, $17 a month, which is not bad. I took some classes here about storytelling and whatnot, and they were good classes. They were very comprehensive. For me personally, it wasn't new information because I took the classes about illustrating kids' books, and I'm the kind of guy who learns by doing. And by the time I took the class, I had already written, drawn, and produced two of my own kids' books. So it was a super sweet course that taught me a lot of information. If you're the learn by doing kind, then go ahead and do. But if you're the learn by instruction kind, this is definitely for you. The videos are great. The high quality is there. And the other thing that's there is these are working artists who are doing the job. They're not people who went to art school and then got an art teaching job. These are the people who may or may not have gone to art school and then went on to just work in the industry, and they're still doing it. So that's svslearn.com. Check it out. The next teacher I would like to mention is Mr. Chris Oatley, and you can find him at chrisoatley.com, ChrisOatley.com. Chris Oatley, he's an interesting character. This guy worked as a character designer for Disney Animation, working on the Disney direct-to-video stuff. And the thing that he worked on that you'd most hear about is the direct-to-video, direct-to-Netflix Pixie Hollow series about like all the different pixies that Tinkerbell hung out with. I watched most, if not all of those with my daughter. Gotta say, the one with the Neverbeast is definitely my favorite. Surprisingly good. Like, they worked hard. They made really compelling little movies that were fun to watch. Definitely fun to watch with my daughter. And Chris himself has got this kind of inspiring story because he was painting and practicing his painting and learning to paint. And much like myself, he was super interested in music. So this guy was working at Guitar Center, and he would get like a half hour for lunch. And in that half hour, he would run home, he would keep his palette in Tupperware to keep it from drying out. So he'd open up his palette from the Tupperware and continue painting for his half-hour lunch break. And then when the half hour was up, he'd put it back in the Tupperware and go back to work. And when work was over, he'd come home and continue painting. And I love that story. I love the grit of it, and I love just the knowing it's like, man, that's what it takes. You've only got the 20 minutes. You've only got the 30 minutes. Well, use them. If that's all you got, that's what you got to do. And not only is that just, here's the time you've got, here's what you've got to do, but also, like, it worked out. He did good. He got the job, and then he got the industry job that so many aspire for, and then afterward he decided he really wanted to teach. He started Oatley Academy, and back when it was divided into different little series that you could buy or subscribe to, I got the Magic Box, where he teaches everything about digital painting that he can. And right now it looks like the Oatley Academy has evolved into a mailing list where he mails out different things like podcasts and whatnot. According to his website at this exact second, that's also where he posts where to look for like his mini lessons and other things like that. His video series may still be available. I'm not seeing them right now, but I'm not looking too hard. But back in the day when it was a video series, I definitely did it. I looked into it. It was worth the money. It was very interesting. I took the Magic Box digital painting class to try and expand my horizons. It didn't work out for me personally, but then, it wouldn't for colorblind Gabe. For me personally, that was the moment where it was just like, yep, painting is not for me. Not on canvas, not on paper, not digitally. That's not where I live. And it was not necessarily a sad revelation for me. It was more like a cool, I can focus even harder on the things that I am good at, which is pen and ink, and if I really wanted to be fancy, marker. And if I had to do some digital colors, like flat colors and cell shading, that's definitely where I live. Right in the zone where Kazu Kibuishi's copper used to live. That's what I gotta do if I want to color. And that revelation, that little process of elimination, like Mr. Oatley's painting class, definitely helped me there. It was super good, and so I recommend it. Join up his mailing list and see what he's got to offer. Alright folks, at the top of this episode I was going to try to keep it to 25 minutes, and here we are at 26 minutes and change, so I'm going to wrap it up. And that's unfortunate, because I haven't even gotten to the best part. I haven't talked about schoolism, I haven't talked about the awesome YouTube channels that are worth checking out, but alas, gotta cut this one. This will be part 1 of a 2-parter, of what is already a 3-part series. So, what's actually happening here is I am showing off my incredible organizational skills, because I'm fancy. Anyhow, look, if you've listened to the end of this episode, I really appreciate it, and I double appreciate your patience with having to deal with this re-upload. That's really super awesome of you, and I just want to say thank you. Thanks for listening. Catch me next time. It'll be part 2 of more stuff to do instead of art school, and then the final part of the series where I talk about my own art school experience with hope that you could glean some wisdom from my own experience. And until then, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. Take care of yourself and make art.